You ever have one of those itches? I mean, a really, really bad one. The kind that's so intense, so maddening, that it literally keeps you up all night? An itch that just will not go away? Well, today we're going to get right under the skin of what causes one of the most persistent and irritating itches known to humankind.
So what's the culprit? You might think mosquito, maybe a flea, right? Wrong. The thing causing this absolute misery is an almost invisible stowaway that is living, breeding, and actually burrowing its way through your skin.
I want you to meet Sarcoptes scabiei var hominis. Yeah, I know, it's a total mouthful. But this tiny, 8-legged creature, which is technically an arachnid, is the one and only cause of human scabies. And trust me, for something so small, the effect it has on people is anything but.
And here you can see what that actually looks like. This isn't just some abstract science thing. It's a really distressing condition that causes visible rashes, it damages the skin, and creates just immense discomfort.
So, the big question, how do you even get it? Well, it's surprisingly simple. It's all about direct, skin-to-skin contact. All it really takes is about 20 minutes of being close to someone, like holding hands or a long hug. That's why it spreads through families so easily. And if you're worried about your pets, you can relax. Dogs and cats get their own kind of mite, but it can't set up shop on you. This is a uniquely human problem. Okay, so the mites are on you. What happens next? You'd probably think the itching comes from the mites physically burrowing, right? But the real story is so much more interesting. It's actually your own body's immune system that's causing all the chaos.
Now, this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. The first time you get scabies, you can be carrying these mites for up to 6 weeks with absolutely zero symptoms. None! And all that time, you're contagious without even knowing it. That insane itch only kicks in when your body finally recognizes the invaders, the mites, their eggs, their waste, and launches a full-blown allergic reaction. And get this, if you're unlucky enough to get it a second time, your body's on high alert and that terrible itch shows up way faster.
You know, scabies can show up in two really different ways. On one hand, you've got classical scabies. This is what most people get. It's caused by just a handful of mites. We're talking maybe 5 to 15 in total, and it triggers that legendary intense itch. But then, on the other hand, you have something called crusted scabies. This is a very rare, very severe version where there can be millions of mites. It usually happens to people with weakened immune systems. The skin gets thick and crusted, and weirdly enough, it might not even be that itchy.
So we know what's causing it, but what should you actually be looking for? And how dangerous can this little mite really be? Well, it turns out the itch is just the starting point of a potentially serious chain reaction.
If you're looking for a textbook sign of scabies, this is it. The most common giveaway is a rash of these little red bumps called papules right there in the webbing between your fingers. It's one of the first places a doctor is going to check.
But of course, it doesn't stop there. The rash also loves to pop up on wrists, the buttocks, and other specific areas. And in babies and older folks, it can be much more widespread, showing up on the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and even on the scalp.
And here is the single biggest clue for diagnosis. Anyone who's had scabies will tell you, the itch is dramatically, unbelievably worse at night. This isn't just a small annoyance. We're talking about severe sleep deprivation that can mess up your work, your school, pretty much your entire life.
This is exactly why scabies is so much more than just a nuisance. The danger pathway is pretty simple, but it can be devastating. First, the mite causes that crazy itch. Then, you scratch and scratch, which breaks open your skin. That broken skin is like an open door for bacteria like Strep A to get in and cause infections. And in some people, those Strep A infections can trigger serious, life-altering complications, including permanent kidney damage. It's a scary thought, and it all starts with one tiny mite.
So, how do we get rid of it? Well, the answer isn't just about treating the one person who's itching up a storm. To really knock this thing out, it has to be a coordinated, household-wide effort.
And this, right here, is the golden rule. You have to remember that symptom-free period we talked about? It means that other people in the house are almost definitely infested, even if they aren't itching yet. So if you don't treat everyone, and I mean every single person living in the house at the exact same time, you're just going to keep passing the mites back and forth forever. It's a frustrating cycle you have to break.
Now, when it comes to the actual treatment, there are some really clear options. The #1 first-choice therapy is a cream called permethrin. It works really well. You apply it pretty much all over your body and then just wash it off after about 8 hours.
If that's not an option, there's another cream called benzoyl benzoate. And finally, there's an oral pill, ivermectin, which can be a whole lot easier for treating big groups of people all at once, though it does have some restrictions on who can take it.
Okay, this is the question on everybody's mind. Do I have to basically fumigate my entire house, boil all my clothes and sheets? This causes a ton of anxiety for people who are dealing with an infestation.
Well, here's the answer, and it might surprise you. For your average classical case of scabies, the answer is generally no. You see, these mites just can't survive for more than about 3 days away from a human body. Research shows that catching it from your bedding or furniture is actually pretty rare. So for most people, you can skip the crazy deep clean. Now, the big exception here is for crusted scabies. With millions of mites, environmental cleaning becomes absolutely essential.
So now that we've got a handle on what it's like for one person, I want us to zoom out. Because this isn't just a personal problem, it's a massive and frankly often overlooked global health crisis.
But let's zoom back in for just 1 second. Remember this number range? 5 to 15. All that itching, the sleepless nights, the risk of serious infection, all of it is typically caused by fewer than 15 microscopic mites on a single person. Now, let's see what happens when that scales up. You see, this tiny problem doesn't affect everyone equally. Not at all. Scabies absolutely thrives in conditions of poverty and overcrowding. So the highest rates are found in kids and the elderly, in places like care homes or prisons, and overwhelmingly in tropical, low-income regions of the world.
And that brings us to the staggering global scale of this thing. From those 5 to 15 mites on one person, it's estimated that scabies affects about 100 million people every single year. That is a truly mind-boggling number for a disease a lot of people have barely even heard of.
Because of that huge impact, and the fact that it hits the world's most vulnerable populations the hardest, the World Health Organization has officially classified scabies as a neglected tropical disease. That puts it in the same category as diseases you've definitely heard of, like leprosy and dengue fever. It really underscores just how serious this is.
And that leads us with one final really important question. We have effective treatments, they're relatively cheap, we know how to stop this. So why does a totally treatable skin condition continue to cause so much suffering for millions of people all over the world? It really forces you to think beyond just the medicine, to the much bigger issues of fairness, access to healthcare, and basic awareness.